Chinese ships around Taiwan in a new military exercise with no name and no end date, simulating a total blockade. Another Chinese influencer is leaving Taiwan, this time escorted by immigration officials after posting videos calling for forceful unification with China. Open-air hospitals, rescuers digging through rubble, and a nation in mourning as the death toll from Myanmar's earthquake rises to over 2,700. Plus, Taiwan's taste for shark fin soup may be contributing to irreparable harm to ocean ecosystems. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chan. Taiwan's military is on alert as more than 70 Chinese military aircraft and 21 naval warships carry out exercises around the country. Beijing says the drills are meant to punish what it calls separatist forces as it once again practices how to blockade Taiwan. Romeo reports.
A Taiwanese naval ship defending the country's maritime border as a Chinese aircraft carrier looms in the distance. In the early hours of Tuesday, China announced it would conduct large-scale military exercises, simulating a blockade of Taiwan and practicing how to coordinate an attack on the country. The drills have been given no name and no end date has been announced. Taiwan's defense ministry says it has set up a response center to monitor the activity and remains on high alert.
我们也随时注意他们相关的动态不只是 这个现在正在进行中的类似这个联合战备警巡的态势，那当然进一步再看看，山东号的在我们东南的这边的动态，那另外也陆地上的动态，我们都会来注意。
Along with the military exercises, China also says it's deployed its Coast Guard to surround the main island of Taiwan as it performs what it's calling law enforcement drills. Early Tuesday, Chinese Coast Guard ships were intercepted as they tried to breach restricted waters near the outlying islands of Jinmen. Analysts here say it's all an attempt to cut off Taiwan from the rest of the world.
企图封锁我国海上航道，还有对陆对海的打击，也就是飞弹攻击陆上的设施，乃至于所谓的这个多权的控制，也就包括自电磁权、网络权、资讯权。 乃至于太空权的部分。
In the past 12 months, China has conducted at least 4 major exercises, changing how countries like Taiwan and the U.S. view the posture of China's People's Liberation Army, or PLA. As what was once a rare sight is now becoming more and more common.
我认为这在很大程度上说明，我们今天看到的相关的演练的内容，已经是一种新常态了。对解放军而言，对东部战区来说， 是家常便饭了。
With no end date announced for the latest maneuvers, Taiwan's military is stuck in a tough spot as it scrambles to defend its borders without knowing Beijing's intention. Fu Hahong, Adil Brawner, and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
The Philippine Army's Chief of Staff says Manila should prepare for a Taiwan invasion scenario.
But let me give you this challenge, this further challenge. Do not be content with securing just the northern hemisphere up to Mavulis Island. Start planning for actions in case there is an invasion of Taiwan.
Romeo Brawner Jr. was speaking at an event hosted by the Army's Northern Luzon Command, the unit responsible for protecting the islands near Taiwan. Brawner says the command would be on the front line of any operation to rescue the nearly 250,000 Filipinos working in Taiwan were an invasion to happen. The Philippines and the U.S. are carrying out joint drills in March and April. Both exercises are designed to prepare the defense of the Philippines in case of a Chinese attack on Taiwan. A group of retired generals have come out in support of Taiwan's mass lawmaker recall movement.
所以我在这边也要呼吁我们所有的退役的将领此时此刻大家要大是大非，不要忘了，此时此刻我们还有自由选择，站出来，用你手中宝贵的一票决定我们的未来。你这个时候不站出来， 将来你可能连这种选择的机会都没有。
The retired service member spoke out at a press conference on Tuesday, saying that the opposition Kuomintang poses a threat to Taiwan by allowing Chinese infiltration. They said at a time when nearby countries are taking China's threats of taking over Taiwan seriously, voters here need to show to the world that they stand on the side of freedom and democracy. A Chinese influencer has been deported from Taiwan for posting videos online advocating for the forceful unification of China and Taiwan. Joyce Zeng has more.
Not the smoothest of exits for Xiao Wei, the Chinese influencer who was ordered to leave Taiwan by the end of March but failed to do so. She's now been forcibly deported by Taipei, and what we know is that she has left from here, Taoyuan International Airport, on a flight to China. Xiao Wei is one of 3 Chinese nationals Taipei has recently ordered to leave for posting videos online advocating for military unification of China and Taiwan. Taipei says such messages breach cross-strait laws and stand to threaten national security and social stability. Now, when Xiao Wei was escorted into the airport earlier, she was seen shouting, asking whether she'd done anything wrong. These 3 influencers caused a stir in Taiwan, with civic groups coming out to both advocate and protest their cause. All 3 women are married to Taiwanese citizens. In Xiao Wei's case, there were initially some concerns from Taiwan's Interior Ministry that she had connections with China's government, concerns that flared after Xiao Wei did not leave on time. But Taiwan has now followed through with the law to deport her, taking a hard line on what it says is needed to protect the free way of life here. Scott Huang and Joyce Sin at Taoyuan International Airport for TaiwanPlus.
Myanmar has declared 7 days of national mourning in the wake of last week's magnitude 7.7 earthquake. The official death toll of the disaster has now surpassed 2,700, and authorities fear that number will rise. Rosie Greninger reports.
Treating the injured outside Myanmar's Mandalay General Hospital. This makeshift setup due to concerns buildings are not safe after a magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck the city 4 days ago. The country's hospitals have been overwhelmed, with at least 3,900 people injured. More than 2,000 people have now been confirmed dead by the ruling military junta. With the critical survival window of 72 hours now past, hopes are dimming of finding more survivors. Despite that, rescue workers are continuing to dig through the rubble. Teams have arrived from the US to join the effort in Myanmar, alongside emergency workers from Russia and China. Neighbouring Thailand has also sent first responders, on top of dealing with their own crisis due to the quake. 20 people have now been confirmed dead in Thailand. In Bangkok, rescue efforts continue at the site of a collapsed building that was under construction. The country's Prime Minister visited the site along Bangkok's Deputy Governor, pledging additional assistance and promising to continue the search for survivors.
We are not going to stop even after 72 hours. We are going to speed up the process because we want to get to them even faster because it's over the 72 hours golden period.
74 construction workers remain trapped under the debris, and relatives say they haven't given up hope.
ขอให้ปาฏิหาริย์เกิดขึ้นขอให้เจ้าหน้าที่หาเจอเร็วๆแล้วก็ให้เจอง่ายๆ
In Mandalay, some success. 2 women, one of them pregnant, pulled alive from the rubble of a collapsed building. But responders face significant challenges, with a lack of proper equipment and access to many areas.
Due to the earthquake, we have massive power outages, even in Yangon. In addition to the power outages and the communication issues, we have access issues. So the main highway to Mandalay and Naypyidaw, the most affected areas, has been cut off, and the main airports are closed.
The United Nations has made an urgent appeal for $8 million in aid, while those most affected are pleading for more assistance. One survivor said he felt abandoned by authorities. After pulling himself out of the wreckage of his shop, he has had no help retrieving the bodies of his workers. Many residents are now in makeshift tents on the street, fearing aftershocks could bring their homes down on them while they sleep. As Myanmar, a country already embattled by civil war, works tirelessly to recover from this disaster, residents here face a long wait for any sense of safety. James Lin and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has ordered an investigation into the collapse of a high-rise building under construction in Bangkok after last week's earthquake. Questions have been raised as to why the building collapsed when damage elsewhere was limited. The project for the state audit building was headed by a Bangkok-based developer and a Chinese partner who took on much of the responsibility for construction. Most of those killed in Thailand and the over 70 people still missing were at a building site when the earthquake struck. Critics have suggested the steel bars used in construction may have been poor quality. Taiwan is home to over 100,000 Burmese Chinese immigrants, many of whom still have family and friends in Myanmar dealing with the aftermath of the earthquake. Tiffany Wong went to New Taipei's Little Myanmar to see how they're trying to help.
The rain casts a gloomy shadow on New Taipei's usually lively Little Myanmar. Taiwan's Burmese Chinese community gathers just days after a magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck the central Myanmar city of Mandalay, killing thousands of people. Some here still waiting to hear from family members in their homeland. Taiwan's Myanmar community is trying to come together to help those inside the country, but they face a series of challenges. Communication is spotty, and access to aid is controlled by the military government. The junta has asked for foreign help, but is selective about where it comes from, leaving some feeling helpless. Leaders in the community have been touched by how people have come together to support the most affected region, Sagaing, which has also been shattered by years of civil war.
目前很多我们这个归侨就是很想去帮助灾区的灾民。当然后来我们就是说希望说，因为灾情很严重，我们希望说多募一点。
Although many have made Taiwan their home, the Myanmar community remains tightly connected to its motherland, and people here are staying resilient to make sure they get aid to those who need it the most. Kama Shri and Tiffany Wong in New Taipei City for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, survivors of sexual violence are seeking justice, aiming to amend Taiwan's sex crime statutes.
We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. An enormous gas pipeline fire in Malaysia has injured more than 100 people. Flames erupted from the burst pipeline early Tuesday. Nearby homes had to be evacuated as a tower of fire reached high enough to be seen kilometers away. Officials have isolated the pipeline, but the cause of the explosion and the full extent of the damage are still uncertain. A human trafficker has been sentenced to 9 years and 4 months behind bars for smuggling over 100 people into Taiwan. The perpetrator, known by his surname Chan, has ties to criminal gangs. Chan had long been wanted by authorities, and he was finally detained last year. In 2018, a smuggling operation Chan spearheaded ended with 3 Vietnamese people drowning. Chan's accomplices have been sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison. It's been 1 year since Taiwan pledged to review the 20-year statute of limitations for prosecuting crimes of sexual violence. But progress remains slow, leaving survivors waiting for justice. Some are now calling on the legislature to get involved. Sandy Chi has the story.
Civil rights group gathered at Taiwan's legislature, marking 1 year since the Constitutional Court pledged to review the pre-2006 statute of limitations for violent sex crimes. They say not much has been done to protect survivors' rights, pointing to recent legislative changes that have rendered the court unable to function in recent months. They're now calling on lawmakers to take action instead.
相对来说，如果立法院更为积极的部分，应该是直接提出有关修法的部分来做相关的补正。我们认为这也是一个非常好的一些方式。
The groups have been joined by more than 40 survivors of sexual violence, 14 of whom are initiating legal proceedings. Some say it took a long time to come forward because they were assaulted when they were very young.
我在这条路上已经走了20年，只是刚开始在遇到这件事情的时候，我根本脑海中没有办法想到什么，因为那时候我被害的时候才不到14岁。
Government figures show that over 1,000 complaints involving sexual assault allegations were dismissed over the past 19 years because the statute of limitations ran out. The groups and survivors gathered here say that justice is not being served.
不要让法律的追诉期变成保护狼师的工具，让受害的孩子能够有一个追求正义的机会。
Time is now running out for many of the remaining survivors. They're urging those in power to act swiftly to ensure legal protections keep pace with their need to find redress for the crimes committed against them. Klein Wang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
As the global appetite for seafood grows, industrial fishing fleets are venturing further into remote waters. A new report by the Outlaw Ocean Project shows how those fleets are damaging a uniquely delicate ecosystem in the Indian Ocean, threatening to worsen the climate crisis. And Taiwan's fishers are part of the problem. Jonathan Kaplan reports.
Far off the northeast coast of Madagascar lies the Saya de Mala Bank. It rises from the deep sea floor to shallow depths, creating a unique ecosystem of marine life in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
It's distinctly shallow. This is the largest plateau in the world in terms of ocean plateaus. And in some places it's as shallow as 10 meters. What that means is that sunlight can reach the floor. So it's almost like a beachfront flush with sunlight and lots of creatures. That's the Saya de Mala.
The seagrass that grows here is one of the world's most effective carbon sinks. The plant captures carbon up to 30 times faster than terrestrial forests. And the Saya de Mala is the world's largest known seagrass field, for now. Its days may be numbered. For the past decade, industrial fishing fleets chasing diminishing fish stocks have been plying the bank's rich waters, pulling up tons of sea life and mowing down the sea floor.
This is a really destructive form of fishing, very common in this area. It's destructive because it's indiscriminate. So it's grabbing everything in its path. And that means you're catching lots of bycatch or species that you weren't intending to consume or sell. Turtles, birds, sharks, whales, what have you. Bottom trawling in particular is destructive because it's on the bottom of the ocean. It's dragging a net across the seafloor, which is essentially like putting a cable between two Humvees and driving across the Amazon and sort of knocking down everything in your path.
The trawlers, mainly from Sri Lanka and Thailand, are delivering crushing blows to this delicate ecosystem. The bank lies in mostly international waters in the Indian Ocean, administered by the small island nation of Mauritius, 900 kilometers to the south, which cannot police this vast stretch of ocean the size of Switzerland. It makes the Saya de Mala an attractive target. But it's not just the trawlers gobbling up everything in sight.
So the Taiwanese fleet that's there are Taiwanese tuna longliners primarily. They're largely on the outskirts of the Saya de Mala where the water gets deeper, so the edges of the plateau where tuna are more likely to be found. Tuna, as you know, is a very high-priced target because a lot of types of tuna are already collapsed. You know, they've disappeared in many other places in the world. And the Saya de Mala is a place where there's a huge flow of tuna in that area. But because it's so far historically, other fleets haven't gone there, but the Taiwanese are now.
But tuna aren't all that the Taiwanese boats are bringing up.
The Saya de Mala has an unusual concentration of sharks. The attraction for fishers, for fishing fleets of sharks, is their fin. Their fin sells mostly to be used for shark fin soup. And so if you're targeting tuna, you can change your line in a small way and catch both tuna and shark. So it's pretty easy adjustment to make, and you can bump up your revenue. So you're seeing a fair number of sharks being pulled onto Taiwanese vessels as well. And Taiwan, Hong Kong, China are the biggest markets for these fins.
The extent to which Taiwan's tuna fleets are harvesting shark fins isn't fully known. What is known is that shark populations are under increasing pressure globally, with many species threatened. And while human beings may have an aversion to sharks, they fill a critical niche in the health of the ocean.
You know, they're the police of the sort of food triangle, and they keep everything in check because they're apex predators and they eat everything below them. And so when they're gone, certain players below them can emerge to fill the void and then sort of knock everything out of whack. And you can see very rapid collapse of other kinds of species because things get out of balance. You lose the top apex predator and the entire habitat can fall apart.
Taiwan has banned shark finning, which usually involves slicing the fins off live fish before dumping them overboard to a slow, helpless death. The practice remains profitable enough to make the occasional surprise port inspection worth the risk. And buying or selling the fins is legal. Restaurants openly advertise shark fin, popular in part because its high price carries prestige. Sharks are just one variable in a complex equation. Their removal hastens a collapse. Somewhere along the chain, a massive store of carbon is released from a vast field of dead seagrass. Without a cultural shift or effective regulation, human appetites will continue to leave lasting scars on the biosphere, perhaps irreversibly. Patrick Chen and Jonathan Kaplan for TaiwanPlus.
In the countryside in northern Taiwan, a series of DIY workshops are reconnecting families to local food traditions. John Ventres takes a look.
Here in rural Hsinchu County, most of the people you meet are Hakka, a people of Chinese origin with their own language, way of life, and way of cooking. Preserving food through drying and pickling is a big part of food culture here. And the winter is one time when there's lots of pickling to do for the year ahead, with rich fields of radishes and seasonal greens ready for harvest. Kids here would once have grown up with pickling all around them, but these days it's common to buy pre-made pickles from the supermarket. To get back to this Hakka tradition, one local pickle maker is offering classes aimed at families looking for a day of DIY fun. But this pickling tradition doesn't have to be preserved the same way for all time. And here, new flavors of pickles are even being invented, using local produce the kids can pick themselves.
的方式剥开之后呢，我不要这个皮。大家平常没有这样剥，对不对？该含有嘛，该按照了为有，该是用甲我们迄是按照性质了还是个是动动的，还上个摸来吃吃看。这下嘛，然后这边过一下喝的水。这个才有之后呢，这。
For Hakka children who take the class, this can be more than a culinary adventure. It can also be a chance to practice the Hakka language, which, despite vigorous revival efforts, is still being eroded by years of outmigration from Hakka villages and official promotion of Mandarin. And the parents, some of them Hakka speakers too, find it good education for the kids about where food comes from, the land.
最本意了解是这些东西是用的啊，也的东西是用的做出来，都种的时间。
太多了，一半。这样。对，好。那你会按摩吗？会呀。好，很棒。
These workshops are a chance to learn something new as a family, and for local Hakka people, it's also a chance to get back to old family roots, preserving a way of life along with the vegetables. Justin Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Before we go, check out these classic cars at Automotive Fair Albania. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Peru and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
For TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.